Right now, let's listen into the speaker.
First week of the Democrat shutdown. There's no reason for them to have done that. The CR was completely clean. It was 24 pages in length, and it is the bare minimum to keep the lights on so that government can continue to work for the people. Real pain is being felt by real people around this country because Chuck Schumer and the Democrats over here are playing political games. We all know the reasons why. They have selfish motivations because they're trying to cover themselves for their left flank. In my press conference this morning on the other side, in the other chamber, I mentioned that Chuck Schumer has been in Washington for 44 years. He began his congressional career when I was in third grade. I was 9 years old when he came to this building. And ever since he came here, throughout his career, he has been a fierce advocate for never closing down the government. I mean, he gave impassioned speeches most recently as 7 months ago in March of this year, when he stood before the cameras and he gave an impassioned speech on the Senate floor saying that it would be dangerous and destructive and terrible to close down the government, that he had to do the right thing. Right after he took that vote, he went on to the national media. He did a big interview on CNN, I think with Jake Tapper, and he said, "I'm proud of my vote. I know I did the right thing." What changed? What changed? Nothing's changed except his political calculation. He's afraid that a Marxist is going to challenge him in his reelection, because Marxism is in vogue in New York City, apparently, and he represents the state of New York. They're going to elect a Marxist for mayor. It's a shocking development, and I think it's shocking to Chuck Schumer as well. Nothing he factored in when he came here in 1981, but that is the political winds now. And so he's playing games, the American people's livelihoods and their actual lives. This is not a game. Leader Thune just mentioned, this gets very real. Checks to our troops will be held up October 15th if they don't come in here tomorrow and vote to reopen the government. You have to get it resolved by October 13th, which is Monday, in order to process those checks. I come from a big military district. I have Barksdale Air Force Base. The Home Global Strike Command is there. I have Fort Polk, the Joint Readiness Training Center. We have young airmen and soldiers deployed around the world right now defending our freedom. And they've left their young families at home. They're dependent upon that check on October 15th. And some of them, sadly, also rely upon WIC funding. Women, infants, and children nutrition programs, that's suspended as well. Why? Because Chuck Schumer wants to play political games. I do not understand it. I hope every journalist here listening today will go and demand him to do the right thing. Ask him the question, why are you doing it? He has no justification. They have created a distraction. They're trying to pretend this is about a end of the year policy decision on health care, and it is not. It's a clean, simple CR. Let's keep the government open so that we can do this work and continue those debates. Again, thank you, Leader Thune, for your leadership, and I'm sure you'll take a few questions.
Yeah. Questions? What's that?
The OMB lawyers, the top lawyer at the OMB on the 2019 statute on back pay. He says it's not guaranteed for federal workers that are impacted here. And President Trump followed that up saying that it wasn't certain that all employees would get back pay. Have you taken a look at that memo, and what is your interpretation?
I haven't looked at the memo specifically yet. My assumption is that furloughed workers will get back pay. But that being said, this is very simple. Open up the government, and this is a non-issue. We don't have to have this conversation. Everybody gets paid when the government is open. The Democrats can do it by delivering a handful of votes this afternoon. We could go in there and we could open up this government. The President's ready to sign it into law, as the Speaker pointed out. If that doesn't happen, there are a lot of really bad things that happen to the American people. And there are going to be a lot of people who aren't going to be getting paychecks. And you know, he mentioned our troops. That is something that becomes a reality starting next week.
Speaker Johnson. Your strategy over the weekend was to convince these 5 Democrats to suddenly vote. That strategy appears to have failed. You voted Friday. You had failed votes last night. Why weren't you able to convince them to change their position?
I think there are a lot of Democrats who are being bludgeoned by their political left, and because they desperately want to pick a fight with this president. This is something, as we said earlier, that 13 different occasions Democrats in the Senate voted for when they had the majority and President Biden was in the White House. And you have to ask yourself the question, what's changed? What's changed is the President of the United States is now President Trump. And so this is all about politics. But I think they're under enormous pressure from their political left. I think they're under enormous pressure from their leadership. But they're going to have to be some brave souls who are courageous enough to come out and deliver the votes to open up the government. When they do that, all these questions and these bad consequences and things that are being talked about here go away.
Senator Thune saying this is all about the left against Donald Trump.